Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Boom Buck and Blue podcast. Hey guys, can we get this going? I got some Mac games on, man. Hashtag Maction. Right?
Yeah, it's trash, man. I'm watching Bowling Green versus Kent State right now, and I turned it off after 3 plays. It's trash.
I went to Bowling Green for a semester.
How'd you do?
Not good.
Hey,
there's a reason I haven't graduated college
for a year. Yeah.
Anyway,
too hot.
So, hey, welcome back, boys. How we doing?
Good. Ready for college football. It was a fun week. One thing I will say about this week, we've been before here, we were kind of talking about the trash of this week. It's not trash, but the games that are happening. I remember about 2 years ago, I was talking to Jimmy before. I was like, man, there's no games this week. This is boring. It's going to be blowout. And at the end of the day, I think it was 6 or 7 of the top 10 teams lost last time I said this. So I think it's going to be a meh week of football, but who knows right now? Granted, everybody's canceled, but we'll see.
I caught another offer this week, so Dallas and Penn State lost, which is cool. I'm getting kind of used to it. I texted you guys last week and said, what does it feel like to have a win again? It felt like a kid asking his grandfather about,
Well, I'll tell you, I mean, if you want to win, you won the picks this week.
Hey,
Ryan went 5-1 by picking 2 underdogs and got them right.
Hell yeah. I'll take a dub when I can get it.
Yeah, I started that, right? So we'll kind of jump in that with, I read it, and when I read it, I was like something online, and I thought it was a little harsh, and then actually started thinking about it. Is Penn State the biggest disappointment in college football so far?
This year?
Yeah.
Probably for Ryan.
Well,
definitely for me. I'm trying to be unbiased in this decision, so let me think for 2 seconds.
They came in top 6, talking about possibly winning the Big Ten, giving Ohio State run for their money. 0 for 3, and we talked Friday, last week, Ryan. The way we've seen them play, they might win 2-3 games, maybe.
Hey, going into last week, I thought there was a chance they could run the table and win 6 games. Go 6-2, 2 hardest games at the beginning of the year. After this week, it's tough to find another win. They're going to play Nebraska this week. That's a toss-up, in my opinion, unless they get something figured out. We talked about this during the weekend, and I am off. I was never on the Clifford train, but I am as far away from the Clifford train as I can possibly be at this point.
You're off that son of a bitch.
He doesn't get it. Last year he had some spurts where he looked good, and then he looked like he did this week, and it's really, really bad. I don't know what is going on with him. I hate to knock anybody. I love him, and I want him to do well and all that stuff, but it just doesn't seem like
guy. He just
no, he just doesn't get it, and I think it's time to give somebody else a chance.
Well, on that, I read at the bottom tonight that Franklin came out and said your starting quarterback is Clifford.
Yeah, and we discussed this on the weekend too. This is one. It's hard to find gripes with James Franklin. I think he is an awesome guy at Penn State. He's a Penn State guy through and through. That's his dream job. He's he's a Pennsylvania guy. We want him there. He does a great job recruiting, although he's not doing too good in 2001. I've repeatedly said this, but if there's one thing you can say about him is that he sticks to his guns too much. And Ross, you and I talked about this. It's the way that Oklahoma coach, Jesus Christ.
Riley.
Look at Riley.
It's the way that Riley takes the number 1 quarterback in the country, or number 1 quarterback coming out of high school. He's your starting 2 years ago, and now he's your starter at Oklahoma. He's not playing the way that he wants him to play, and he puts his ass right on the bench.
Right, set him down.
That's big boy coach decision. That's why he makes the money that he makes at Oklahoma. He is.
So
takes no shit. If he takes no shit, he's quarterback whisperer. takes no shit. If you're not doing what he wants you to do, you're sitting your ass on the bench. That was a huge wake-up call for Rattler, and
played lights out.
I wish that Franklin had a little bit of that in him to say, Clifford, love you to death, but sit your ass down. You're sitting on the bench. Somebody else is getting another shot because you're not playing the way we want you to play. Because he is.
Franklin did say that Levis is going to be more involved. Didn't say how much or anything. I mean, might be every other drive. I don't know what it's going to be, but he said Clifford's a starter. Levis is going to get more snaps. But
the problem with Levis is he's like guys that listen. They know NFL. They know college football. Like Levis is Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill can throw about 2 or 3 passes a game, and he might complete one of them. You know, it's like he's not this guy he'll never go out and replace Drew Brees. I would be super surprised if Drew Brees retires and then Taysom Hill gets the start and he is the starter going forward. Like he is a niche kind of quarterback, and that's what Will Levis is. So
exactly.
Will Levis is not the answer to replace. So that's what makes decision. All of a sudden, if Will Levis is a guy that Franklin has that can go out there and run the offense and make throws and also run and was all around a good quarterback, then that would be a good. Franklin would probably go to like, hey, Levis, it's your turn.
Yeah.
But Levis is not that guy.
Right. I mean, like Clifford, like, don't get me wrong. Okay, first off, he can't throw the ball for dog shit. He can run the ball. He can run the ball. He's had some good runs. Right. But Levis, it's no different. He can't throw, but he can run. So it's not like you're putting somebody completely different. It's like you're just.
I'll disagree a little bit. All of a sudden, Clifford will throw 10, 15 passes in a row that are just dog shit, and then he'll throw a pass and be like, what the hell was that? Where did that come from? Like, he's rolling the dice every time. It's like, I don't know where this throw's going. It might be the best pass in the world, or 80% chance it's going to go overthrown or underthrown or whatever. Right.
Just closing his eyes and tossing it.
Yeah, so, like, Clifford's got the talent, just hasn't put it together yet, and if he hasn't put it together yet, then he ain't ever going to put it together. That's my opinion.
Yeah, at this point, it's a little late.
Yeah, it's too late for that, yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be super interesting. I mean, he's a junior. He's going to be back next year as a senior. So, I mean, to me, you either replace him now with one of these freshmen or a young guy, let him sit and transfer and get the hell out of there and go to the Maction and maybe start.
Yeah.
Because if you start him next year, nothing's going to fucking change.
Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, we talked about that. I don't know how all that stuff works. I mean, was Clifford involved in any of the recruiting to get some of the guys they got last year? If Clifford's not the guy, like, do they if anyone doesn't know, Sean Clifford's little brother Liam is a 4-star wide receiver out of whatever, some school in Ohio, Cincinnati or something like that. Like he's a great player in Penn State. That's one of the better players in Penn State's recruiting class next year. And if all of a sudden his brother's not at Penn State or not the starter, like, do they lose him? It's like.
So, well, here's the question: is Clifford a true junior?
I believe so.
So he's only played 3 games, which that's the NCAA rule. So if he's set out the rest of the year, he can technically redshirt this year. Keep a year.
He redshirt this year, though.
Well, he keep the year anyways, right? Can you keep the year anyways? Like, this is a free year for everybody, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Not to get too deep into Penn State, but Penn State's they're in a big hole right now. It's gonna be tough to get out of that. I mean, you just hope they could scrap together 4 or 5 wins the rest of the year down the stretch, and they get it figured out. Like, it's not all on Clifford. Like you guys have mentioned, like the offensive line at Penn State has been awful. Listen to the Penn State podcast once again. I've repeated this, but they've said that there is something missing from the offensive line. Like, if the offensive line doesn't protect Clifford, then he can't make any throws. When they do protect Clifford, Clifford doesn't make the throws that he needs to make. Like, it's like if everything could go wrong at the same time, that's what's happening at Penn State. And it's you kind of just want the year to end at this point. To your point, Ross, it'd be a great year for this Taquan Robinson kid to get in there and get some snaps and see what he can do. Like, all of a sudden, you put him in there, and whatever he is in practice, like, you put Taquan Robinson in, there's a chance he might just be a stud. Like, he might be good. Like, let him run.
Who's available currently in the transfer protocol, even though he's opting out for the year? Dylan McCaffrey.
That is true. Yeah.
I think, like, so far with Penn State and Ohio State's playing Ohio State, it doesn't count because it's Ohio State. They've got a freak offense. And you guys played great defense. If you look at the score, it doesn't show what you guys did to Indiana's off. Like they had like 80 yards of offense in the game.
Yeah, defense was great.
Yeah.
Week one,
Yeah.
and actually they were not.
Maryland
Obviously had some breakdowns on defense against Ohio State, but I mean
the overall
there were some points there where they looked pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of like with Penn State. I've kind of been leaning on that. It's like, all right, well, their offense is strong, but their defense is playing well. Like they're they're hanging on. Against Maryland, 35 points, 400 plus yards.
Yeah.
Did not expect that against Maryland. I mean, I'm not saying that Maryland's a bad team. I think they are better. Like Maryland is progressively getting better, slowly but surely. They are getting to be a better football team.
Oh, they are. So I will say this: week one, they look like shit against Northwestern. The past 2 weeks, they are. So Tua's little brother is starting to figure it out. Like
and they got that 5-star Raheem Jarrett who's balling out as well.
Yeah, he's good.
Is that what you're saying? Tell me this next week after they play Ohio State.
Okay, I will.
Okay, all right. Can we get into that? Let's segue.
They beat up on Minnesota's defense, which Minnesota's defense is absolutely dog shit. So that means nothing. Penn State, a little disappointed on that. So that's why I'm saying, give me another good defense. And if they do it against Ohio State, then we go, okay, like they got something going here.
Well, I don't expect them to beat Ohio State, but
no. But
watching, I'm not going to try to say his name, but it's I think it's Talia
Tungavailoa.
Mini Tua, but the things that I want Clifford to do, Tua was doing at Penn State against Penn State, who's supposed to be a pretty good defense. Like quick, accurate throws, gets the ball out of his hands, knows where to go with the ball, like easy quarterback 101 type of shit. Like he's got it figured out. And before we get into Ohio State, I just want to say the Big Ten is an anomaly this year. They're not very good. I'll just leave with that. They're not very good, but the bad teams in the Big Ten are not bad anymore. Well, so like Rutgers is not terrible. Like Rutgers is a competitive team. Maryland is looking like they're going to be a competitive team. Like obviously Iowa's got their issues and Michigan State's got their issues, but I mean even Michigan State's a competitive team. They beat Michigan.
I think Michigan State and Illinois are two teams that you're basically not going to have a chance to win.
No.
But what you're saying is the teams that have historically been bad,
the laughing stock of the Big Ten is no longer the laughing stock.
Necessarily easy.
But the thing is, and I think you're right. But real quick, let's go over every conference. Big Ten's like that. The Big 12's like that. That we're down this year. I mean, Oklahoma lost 2. They're starting to turn it on, but Texas is not what everybody thought they were going to be.
Texas is exactly where everybody thought they would be. They're
everybody except Texas
and look like shit in other games, and they lose games they shouldn't. Like Texas is always the same. Right.
So looking at the SEC, I mean, you got Bama and Florida. Georgia is down. LSU is trash. Auburn's not good. Mississippi State and Ole Miss is ACC, you got Clemson and Notre Dame. Other than that, North Carolina's lost 2.
Yeah, Florida State's been bad for years, but
Miami's 5-1, and they're better than I thought they're going to be, but I think they're overrated at 9. I think most conferences are that way. They've got 1 or 2 teams up there that are just ready to knock everybody off, and it just falls off.
Yeah, guys.
I just mean for the. Go ahead, Jim.
Does the ACC have the best conference right now? They've got 2 teams that could. They got 2 teams that could challenge for.
I would probably say yes, because I think Notre Dame and Clemson are right there. I think North Carolina's 4-2. They've lost 2 games, but I think they are good. They can play with people. I think
Florida and Alabama are really good.
Yeah, Florida, Alabama.
I'll give them that. I will give you that. Yeah, but the drop off. I would say.
I think there's been a drop off in all the conferences, but for the Big Ten, I think that it's a drop off, but it's also the shit teams in the Big Ten, the notoriously shit teams. I mean, it's Maryland and Rutgers. I mean, I'm not going to bounce around it. Like Illinois is still shit, so we'll leave them out of it. But Maryland and Rutgers, like they look better this year. Like Maryland's got Tua's little brother, and he looks like he's the type of quarterback that can kind of turn that program around. And Rutgers has got Shiano back, and Shiano's
got those boys playing hard.
He
doesn't have the players.
They were totally outclassed against Ohio State, and they totally look like shit. But he was running plays. He was running the Tennessee miracle.
Everything.
He pulled out everything. And they were able to put some points on Ohio State, and that looked like a team that doesn't usually when you play Rutgers. Like, I mean, they look like one quarter in, those guys are not even getting off the bench. Like they're just done.
Yeah,
and
they're
they don't
just
give a
yeah,
shit.
they're
No longer like that. Like Rutgers is ready to play. You
I
know?
think in the Big Ten's defense, granted, Penn State is obviously not what we thought it would be. Michigan, whatever. Granted, in their defense right now, we don't know what Wisconsin is because they've only played 1 week.
True.
That is very fair.
Good. They could be very good. We don't know yet.
Or it could be like Michigan, where week one we thought they were the greatest team in the world, and then they.
That's why. That's like one of the big question marks. You could throw a good Wisconsin team in there, and obviously that's going to boost the Big Ten a lot. But until we see them play a second game, because they haven't yet, we don't fucking know.
Dude, I don't know what's going to happen. So the we talked about at the beginning of the year. I mean, that's like disaster mode for Wisconsin. We knew it was going to happen to one team in the Big Ten. You guys mentioned it. I was like very optimistic and saying, hey, maybe we can squeak through the season without anything big happening. Wisconsin, I mean, 24 active players tested positive for COVID. I think it's 24 or 27, something like that. All those players are out for at least 3 weeks. Like it is how they move on from this is going to be pretty. I don't know if they play another game. I don't know what's going to happen, but hopefully
they have to play this
week.
week.
To see them.
Well, but
that's the thing. They have to play this week to qualify for the Big Ten championship.
Well,
you have to play 6 games.
Granted, but I mean, some people, like I was watching, they're saying, with that many cases and it being that rampant, like Wisconsin football almost needs to shut it down.
They did. That was the thing.
Right.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Like if you can't control them after 1 week and 24 people already have COVID.
So they had 24 in that first week. I haven't heard anything else after. I have no idea.
I did hear it's going down, which is obviously a plus. But I mean, 24 in a week is that is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boys
out in Madison living it up, huh?
Yeah, that's my one thing, Ryan, that about the Big Ten is I agree with you. The drop off is big. Wisconsin is the question mark. We don't know what they are yet. They could be better.
Yeah. I mean, Indiana's good too. Indiana's a good team.
Indiana's good.
I don't know if they're. I'd like to see when they do they play Ohio State this year? Maybe just left. So I wonder if they play Ohio State this year. That might be the best game in the Big Ten this year. Like
Indiana, they do. I think it's in like 2 or 3 weeks. I think, but yeah, they do play them.
And they're good, and they look like. And this is how bad Penn State is. They look like shit against Penn State and beat Penn State. They actually look pretty good now. Whatever happened week 1, they figured it out. So they're a better team than when they played Penn State.
They're figuring it out. So Big Ten's gonna be obviously interesting to watch. The Big 12, I mean, to me, is still the most interesting race to the top, just because. I mean, granted, like we said last week, we're not getting to the college football playoff unless all hell breaks loose.
Yeah. Hey, before we jump to the Big 12, Jimmy, what do you got to say about Ohio State this week? You got 3 minutes. Go.
So, you're probably going to laugh at me. I am concerned about this week because I see parallels between this Maryland-Ohio State game and the Maryland-Ohio State game from 2018. We got an Ohio State offense that is top end, top notch, right? 2018 and 2020. We've got an Ohio State defense that is not as good in certain areas. They're still really strong in the defensive line, pretty good on linebacker. Weak point is obviously backfield. And what does Maryland do?
Yeah.
They throw the ball.
Tua's going to sling it around.
So I watched him this week. He throws short slants. He throws crossing patterns. He's doing what Penn State should be doing. Like, he burned Penn State twice in the first half with the same play, running a crossing pattern across the middle. It's like, Jimmy, if your guys can't keep up with him, you're going to have some trouble. But
you've said it multiple times, Jimmy. What is Ohio State's defense kryptonite usually?
Oh, it's usually the slants.
Well, no,
the crossing routes.
Mobile quarterbacks. Mobile quarterbacks give you guys fits.
Well, it doesn't look like he didn't run that much against Penn State. Like,
no, he's not really. He's not. He can. He's not.
That kid can move.
Yeah, but you don't have packages built in. That was the problem with Nebraska and Rutgers, were those packages for like offline, like fakes. They're faking left, and the entire team buys out, and then the running quarterback goes off to the right.
Most of, like a lot of teams, and it's not just Ohio State, where people have trouble with mobile quarterbacks. It's not the packages; it's when the pocket collapses. Whoever, Tulia, whatever, gets out of the pocket and all of a sudden he's got 15 yards or forever to run. If your D-backs don't turn around and see the ball.
So what I know from experience, because I watched this game in detail last week, if you're safety, it's your safety's play. Like crossing routes is a lot about cornerbacks, but it's also about who's covering the middle of the field. And if you got deep middle, like if you got your safeties in good positions and stuff, like Lamont Wade at Penn State got beat twice in a row, and I never saw him the rest of the game. Like he got pulled out of the game. I don't know if he had an injury or what, but those crossing patterns, he took bad angles and didn't get the guy. Like if you have safeties that can get when those guys catches those short crossing patterns, if you have a safety that can come up and knock them, you're going to be okay.
Yeah,
like, I don't know how Ohio State's safeties are doing. But
our safety is probably our weakest position on the field.
So there might be some issues there. I'm sure you still win by 30, but
you know how I know Ohio State's safeties are the weakest? Is because Ohio State's defense is always top notch. I can usually name 5 or 6 defenders. I can't name a single safety for Ohio State right now. That I'm like, all right,
I can tell you, Marcus Hooker. It's Malik Hooker's brother.
Okay, I know. Yeah, okay.
yeah. And then the other 2 got kicked off the team because they raped a girl.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Remember that? Yeah. So.
Well, I mean, good for
and Josh Proctor. Josh Proctor's the other kid. He's very young, so
learning.
All that being said, Jimmy, like you guys are gonna thump Maryland. Like you're gonna probably take Maryland back to.
It's probably going to be high scoring. I'm willing to bet it's going to be high scoring. Minnesota, like Maryland's defense, is very bad.
Yeah,
it's really bad.
Bullshit. They looked great last week. What the hell are you talking about?
This is one of those games that 99 times out of 100, Ohio State's going to win, but shit can happen.
I'm saying 2000. You look back at that 2018 game.
Ohio State is notorious for losing a game they shouldn't.
Correct.
Yeah.
I'm not looking at this Maryland game like it's going to be a pushover.
Yeah, not saying it's going to be this game, but I was like, Ohio State has lost a few games in the past that they shouldn't.
I'm more concerned about.
The Big Ten should be on notice of Tua's little brother. I mean, I'm not saying he's the greatest thing. I'm not saying he's Tua. Like Tua was a great player at Alabama. Like, but that guy can play, and that guy can.
He's fun to watch.
He is fun to watch, and he is. This is not the Maryland. This is not the Maryland of last year, or the year before that, or the year before that, or 10 years before that. Like, this is a different team, and he is a fun player to watch, and he might make games competitive just on his own merit, you know.
This is better than the Maryland team that beat Texas twice in a year, bro.
Yeah, because they beat Texas and then they lost 15 games in a row.
Yeah, and they were trash.
Okay, so let's get to the Big 12.
Yeah. Big 12, like, again, like we were saying, like, to me, like, granted, I am biased, but I think it's the most fun championship race because we know Ohio State's going to get there for the Big 10. Who's going to get there, though, and we don't know. But ACC is going to be Notre Dame, then Clemson. Obviously, we're going to have Clemson, like Alabama, and Florida. Big 12, we have no fucking clue right now. I mean, if it started right now, it's going to be Ohio State. It would be Iowa State and Oklahoma State if it started right now. Granted, Iowa State's still got to play Texas and Kansas State and a couple other teams. But I do see Oklahoma running the table. No. We're off this week. We have Bedlam next week in Norman. But little fun fact that I heard, and I've been watching, granted, our last 2 games were against Kansas and Texas Tech, so you could take this with a grain of salt with that. But before that, it was TCU and Texas. And Texas has a fantastic offense. TCU is not high-powered, but they're usually, like, I don't know what the word. Their offensive line is solid. You know, they don't commit penalties. They do well. In the last 4 games, Oklahoma's defensive line alone has 20 sacks and 40 tackles for a loss. And Oklahoma State's offensive line is trash. Chuba Hubbard's fantastic. Yeah. Sanders is good. Obviously, Tyler Wallace, but their offensive line is trash. So if our defensive line can play like they have been, Oklahoma State have a lot of problems.
Maybe I don't know enough about Big 12 football, but Oklahoma's got it figured out. and I don't see them losing another game. And I think when they go to Bedlam, like I don't think it's going to be. I mean, I'm sure it'll be competitive, but
because it's Bedlam.
I think Oklahoma will put the screws to them. But like, what does Oklahoma need to win the Big 12 again?
If we win out, if we win the rest of our games, we will be in the Big 12 championship.
Okay.
Yeah.
Playing
because
well, it depends. So it's either be Iowa State, Oklahoma State, or Texas. Iowa State does have to play Texas like in 2-3 weeks, and pretty much whoever wins that game is who OU's going to be playing if we win out.
Because Oklahoma State will lose to you and have 2 losses, and you'll have a win against them. And okay, gotcha.
And then Texas beat them, so they have the tiebreaker over them.
Yeah.
So it more than likely be OU versus Iowa State or Texas. Obviously, I mean Texas would be the fun one. That first one was.
That was a hell of a game. It'd be fun to have a full game of, full-on Spencer Rattler against that team.
Good Spencer Rattler.
I've said it over and over again. I think
we won't see what happens. He did hurt his hip.
We were talking about that.
Yeah, he did get hurt. He said it is just a bruise, and Granny's got a week to get better and kind of move forward. So
2 weeks. 2 weeks, right?
Yeah, this weekend, next week to get healthy. So I think he'll be fine. Ramondre Stevenson. I mean, he's still
beast.
Watch Bedlam for the love of God and watch this guy play. I mean, I don't know understand. He looks like one of the best running backs in the country when he gets in the game. When he touches, he looks like one. I'm not saying he is, but he's when he touches the ball, he just looks different than the other running backs. Runs with power, he's 6 foot 250. He makes one cut and goes, and his one cut's solid. So he's fun to watch. But the Big 12, and this is funny because we're going to take the Big 12 and move it a little bit back to the Big 10 before we get to the monster of Clemson, Notre Dame. Ryan, you missed it. One of the big things we were talking about before you got on was the replacement of Harbaugh. Because let's get real, Harbaugh ain't lasting this season. He gone. His contract's over at the end of the year. He has.
They're not going.
He'll be. If anything, he'll be gone at the end of the year. They won't fire him mid-season.
No, I don't think that. But I don't think 2021 Harbaugh will not be staying on the Michigan sideline.
Yep.
And the big names I was telling Jimmy, I read an article today. Number one list is Iowa State's Matt Campbell, who's done fantastic, and then PJ Fleck from Minnesota and Cristobal from Oregon are the 3 big names floating around. I'd hate for the Big 12 to lose Matt Campbell because I think he's doing great things at Iowa State, and it's nice to have another team minus OU and Texas being good and respectable. But, I mean, if you're Matt Campbell, doing what you're doing at Iowa State with the types of recruits that Iowa State gets, 3 stars-ish.
Yeah.
And Michigan's flaunting money. If you can do this with 3-star recruits, if you can start getting 4- and 5-star recruits, why would you not?
I honestly think they would do better. Matt Campbell's a very good coach.
He is, and I just
my only thing to that is Harbaugh beats up on teams that he should beat up. I mean, we could say what we want about Harbaugh. I started at the beginning of this season saying it Harbaugh gets a lot of shit. He just can't beat Ohio State
or Michigan State
Matt Campbell can get all the players in the world, but he might get 4- and 5-star guys, and if you can't beat Ohio State, then get the hell out of here.
Yeah, I mean that's what it's going to come down to.
That's a tough job, man. Michigan might be the toughest college football job in the country, because you got to run up against.
I would argue Texas because they got all the oil tycoons that fucking metal.
Yeah. It's tough. Beat this team that is damn near unbeatable every single year, and you can keep your job. I mean, that's a tough call.
Well, Michigan, I want to say, Michigan.
It's the same thing with Texas. Yeah.
Texas, if you don't beat Oklahoma, then nobody gives a shit what you do.
Ain't shit. If you ain't Oklahoma, you ain't shit. Yep.
Matt Brown did fantastic at Texas. He was he had them rolling high, but he just couldn't beat Bob Stoops. He just couldn't beat Bob, and he got fired for it.
Yeah. So I feel for any new coach. I feel for Harbaugh. I hate to say that, but because Harbaugh is kind of an easy guy to hate, and I understand that, but I feel for him. It sucks. You got to try to beat this team that is just a juggernaut. Not to suck Jimmy's too much tonight, but like Ohio State is an absolute juggernaut, and it is tough to beat. Like if Penn State was in that book, if like James Franklin's career relied on him beating Ohio State every year, then James Franklin like is not going to have a very long career at Penn State.
No.
Like, hey, can you beat Ohio State 1 out of every 3 or 4 years? Yeah. Can you beat Ohio State like 1 out of every 3 or 4 years? Sure. Like that's great. I would love that. Like that's a successful Penn State coach.
Yeah.
You know? Like Michigan needs to get the guy that can beat them every 3 or 4 years. That's my
opinion. Needs to worry about beating Michigan State first because he's Harbaugh hasn't beat Michigan State in the Big House ever.
I didn't know that stat.
He's done it once.
Oh yeah, he's like 1-6. He's 1-6 or something like that against Michigan State at home. Like
that's bad because Michigan State hasn't. I mean, obviously they have some good years and bad years, but I mean they're terrible right now. And them losing to Michigan State.
By the way, Michigan State is really bad, and then they lost to Michigan State. We were talking about Rocco, the quarterback out of Michigan State, and
Rocky
Baldelli or Baldello or Balderdash
or whatever it was.
Anyway, he Rocky Rambo. He went back. He showed us actually what kind of quarterback he is.
Yes.
Like you saw him week 1, 7. Like I think he threw like 4 interceptions, and week 3, terrible. I think he threw like 2 interceptions against Iowa.
No, I mean Iowa's super bad, and they got beat by Iowa by 40 points. Yeah. I mean, we're back in the Big Ten. Damn it, Ross.
Yeah, Big 12.
Moving on to let's tell you about the big monster. Clemson, Notre Dame.
Oh, hey, it's called.
Right,
yes. Got him.
You called it, and I will give you props for it. If they played against this week with the same spread, and you asked me who's going to win, I'd probably say Clemson.
Trevor Lawrence in there.
Even without Trevor.
Yeah, we picked that game without Trevor Lawrence. So I mean,
but I'm saying like
Trevor Lawrence played that game. I'm picking Clemson.
For sure. Trevor Lawrence, even like I think if they play that game again, Clemson wins.
Okay. Ross, you brought it up. You said, listen, if you've got Clemson in this game, what difference does it make? Because Notre Dame could still score.
Yeah.
And they did.
Yeah.
I mean, Clemson probably keeps it close there earlier.
I'm like a pseudo Notre Dame fan. Like I like maybe it's because I'm a shitty Irish ginger that has a red beard and roots for like maybe that's what I'm rooting for. But
for 1 year for Halloween, you should be the Notre Dame mascot.
I should do that. So I'm like a pseudo Notre Dame fan, but like I wish them to do good, but I don't need to wish this year. I think they're a good team, and like they are very lucky that they caught Clemson without Trevor Lawrence, and we're gonna see down the road when they play Clemson. I really think they'll play Clemson again in the championship, but
I didn't know this, and I read it. I'm gonna have to look it up. Not only did Clemson not have Lawrence, they were without 3 starting linemen.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know that.
I didn't either. And I think they said it today on sports radio. I was like, well, shit. Like, first off, you lose your.
That explains why.
You're pseudo quarterback.
That's why.
You have your line.
That's why Notre only had 34
yards.
Like,
I don't want to just say like give Clemson excuses. Like did Notre Dame?
I'd have to look. I don't know about Notre Dame. I was just again. I listened to the sports talk radio and they brought that up. They're like, hey,
you're gonna be hard pressed to have 3 of your starting offensive linemen. You're gonna have a hard time running the ball, and you're gonna have a bad time. One of my favorite memes. Anyway, and it showed. Etienne only had 34 rushing yards. Well, one of the best running backs in the country.
Yeah, and that's what I said. Like going in, I was like, they're gonna lean on Etienne. They're gonna run the ball. They're gonna pound the rock because he's one of the best running backs in the country, if not the best running back in the country. And he could not get going at all.
Well, I mean,
Notre Dame did
sold out on the run. Notre Dame did a very good. By the way, Ian Book grew up in that game.
Hey, you know what? So not to bring this back to Penn State, but I got to bring it back a little bit.
You bitch at me for taking it back to Big Ten.
Hey, all I'm saying is I don't think Ian Book is the greatest quarterback in college football. I don't think he's the greatest quarterback in the ACC. I don't think but he does the job that he needs to do. Yeah. And I see him be accurate when he needs to be. He's athletic when he needs to be. He's smart when he needs to be. Like he does the things right, and it's just like I take Ian Book, who is not this just like god of a quarterback that's at Notre Dame, but he is damn good, and there is no pressure. Like he doesn't have the credit for it.
I think Ian Book is a lot better.
Yeah. I would say early on, I was not. I want to say skeptical because I don't get skeptical of Notre Dame. You don't
get skeptical about anything.
That's fair. But I wasn't. So I have some friends of mine who are Notre Dame fans. They're like, man, Ian Book, he's the future. I'm like, well, I don't know. We'll have to see. But this his performance against Georgia last year, I was like, okay, all right, I'm starting to see. And then this game also as well against a very good Clemson team. I'm like, all right, here we go.
Okay, so I will take it back to Penn State. He's Trace McSorley. You look at him, and you don't think that he's going to go to the NFL and be this amazing quarterback. You look at him, and you're like, that's a damn good college quarterback.
I'll give you that.
Tough.
I will give you that.
That guy makes the right reads. Like, he's a good leader, and like he does the things well. And I don't think he's not Trevor Lawrence. Like, Trevor Lawrence is,
he's a
God among men. Right? But Ian Book does the right things and is tough and strong and like good leader, and people look to him and like, I like that. It's like I think Notre Dame will go as far as like Ian Book can carry them.
I did read an interesting fact kind of talking about these two because now obviously with Clemson losing, we talked a little bit about it Saturday night after the game, and I don't want to say wrench, but definitely throws a curveball to the college football playoff. And we were talking like more than likely Notre Dame's going to win out, and Clemson's still probably going to win out, and it's going to end up those two in the ACC championship.
Well, I'm watching that game.
Yeah. But they brought up an interesting fact I heard today. Even if Clemson beats Notre Dame, and people are like, oh, yeah, like even if Clemson beats Notre Dame's in. So far in the college football playoff, not a single team has lost their conference championship and made it to the playoff.
Even lost their conference championship?
Yeah, lost. Even when Alabama got it, they didn't make it.
That's not true. No,
that's right.
Ohio State.
They didn't play in the conference championship.
They won it.
Penn State won it over Wisconsin.
Wait, what?
When Penn State won it, you guys when Ohio State
physically lost the conference championship. Okay. Didn't win the conference championship. Actually lost. Okay.
Lost the actual conference football championship game. Like went to the game, lost, and still made it. Like Ohio State made it by not playing in it. Alabama made it by not playing in it. I think Georgia made it by not playing in it. So if Notre Dame loses,
that's a testament to it just hasn't happened yet. That's going to happen. Like you're going to have
we got to understand the first.
You're going to have an undefeated Wisconsin playing an undefeated Ohio State in a Big Ten championship game, and they're just by far really really good teams. Or you're going to have an undefeated Georgia playing against an undefeated Alabama.
Scenario, Ross. It's a scenario that we've brought up a couple times where it's like, hey, what if Alabama plays Georgia in the SEC championship and loses in a really close one? And they've been the number one team all year.
But you have to sit here and think, like, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying Notre Dame's a bad team, but if Notre Dame goes and loses to Clemson with the way they're playing, not saying it's right and not saying they're a better team, but you can put them in over an undefeated BYU team that's number 6 in the country right now?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't.
That's a curveball. Yeah, that is true. That's all he said. It is a curveball.
Yes, you do.
I think Notre Dame's a better team. I think that BYU gets it. And the biggest curveball right now is what the hell is going to happen in the Pac-12. If Oregon runs the table, they're in. End of story. If Oregon runs the table, they are in.
Correct.
Especially with this, like the Clemson beating Notre Dame, or Notre Dame beating Clemson.
Did we write down our preseason top 4 for the playoffs? Did we write that down?
We all had the same. It was Clemson.
I think I said Notre Dame.
Alabama, and Oklahoma.
Yeah, I think I said Notre Dame as well. I had Oklahoma, Ohio State, Alabama. Oh, no, Clemson.
We all had the same teams in there to start it off.
I can't remember. I can't remember now.
Hey, guess what? There's recordings. You can go listen to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, by the way, hey, check us out on the Boom Black and Blue podcast, everybody.
Yeah, I think I think it's going to be very interesting to see how everything pans out. Granted, we're saying this, guys, assuming that Ohio State, Alabama, Oregon, Clemson, and Notre Dame are going to win out. Not saying they're not talented enough, but the fact that college football and the chances of that happening, something's going to happen.
Yeah,
I guarantee Ohio State wins out. One thing that we've talked about this multiple times, Alabama's defense, it's beatable.
It is very beatable.
Yeah.
I
mean, Lane Kiffin got them in a shootout, and Ole Miss is not that good.
No, and if Alabama has to play Florida.
Yeah, if it gets so Alabama's defense is definitely an Achilles heel at this point. And Clemson's lost, I hate to say it, but the way Notre Dame plays, there's a chance they could go undefeated. They could beat Clemson again. They like even with Trevor Lawrence, if they get it up rolling, like I said that. I mean, obviously I said that, but like, I mean, if Trevor Lawrence plays this week, I think Clemson wins by 2 touchdowns. But since he didn't, like, they lost, and if they end up playing each other again in the ACC championship game, I'd probably have to take Clemson again. But there's a chance they could beat them again. You know.
Yeah, beating a team twice obviously is harder, don't get me wrong.
Brian Breezy, by the way, went down. Like he had a knee injury, didn't look too good. Like I hate to harp on that guy. I mean, he's a freshman. It's not like he's not the like keystone of the team, but
yeah. And like I'm going back and forth. Like I said, I'd probably take Clemson. And we're sitting here talking about like if Lawrence played, we're gonna take Trevor Lawrence or take Clemson, right? Oogalala, Lulu. Whatever.
Uyangalele.
Stats. Here comes the stats master.
Touchdowns. He threw 450 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, also Sean Clifford had like 350 yards and 3 touchdowns this week, and literally was the worst player in the history of Penn State football. So get them.
So
not going to knock Ugalele. He's a great quarterback.
Yeah,
he ain't Trevor Lawrence.
He's green. Well, he's just green.
He ain't QB Jesus. Okay, that's what I'm saying.
He is QB. Yeah. Lawrence is QB.
So that is a good point because I was looking up the team stats for total offense, total yards given up. I mean, you got Wisconsin is the only. Well, you got Wisconsin and West Virginia, but Notre Dame at 10, only giving up 296 total yards a game, and on his own, Uyangalele passed that. Right. So Notre Dame is not a bad.
No, they're not.
Defense. They're a good defense.
Here's what happened in that game because I didn't watch much of it because I was at dinner with my father-in-law. But Ugalele did his job. He threw for
actually did pretty damn well.
2 touchdowns. Clemson only ran the ball 34 times for 33 yards and had 3 fumbles lost. That's the ball game.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was that tight. It went to overtime.
Talk about it, Ryan. Actually, Jimmy, too. But you can't have 3 turnovers and expect to beat a good football team.
Yeah,
you just can't. Regardless of who you are. Well, correction, you can't really have 3 turnovers and expect to beat a mid-tier football team, let alone a fucking Notre Dame.
What was the differential? Did Oklahoma or did Notre Dame have any turnovers that game?
They had 1. Notre Dame had 1.
Okay.
Clemson had 3. So it was a +2 for Notre Dame, which when you're playing the number 4 team in the country.
Yeah, if you let that happen, that's not good.
Yeah. Man, that's so weird. Yeah, I was going to look at the differentiation between penalties and Clemson 4 and Notre Dame 7.
Yeah,
so
46 yards, 50 yards, time of possession even, throwing the ball 440 to 310 Notre Dame. They both did well throwing the ball. But running the ball, Notre Dame had 200 yards rushing.
I did say Notre Dame could run the ball.
Clemson had 34 yards, and then the 3 fumbles, and then the difference of 2 yards. So
yeah, well, one
of their fumbles ended up being a touchdown. Didn't ETN fumble, and then it was like a scoop and score type of situation, or did they went down to the? I think they took it down to like red zone and scored, but
fumble touchdown. Yeah, there's a scoop and score.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's enough about that. You guys want to jump into the NFL?
Yeah. Well, Pac-12 is back. Oregon did look good. I don't know if they're college football playoff, but they did look good.
Joe Moorhead.
Arizona State looked good for a freaking half, and then they crumbled. I think BYU's legit. I think Cincinnati's legit. I think those 2 teams, again, I'm betting one of those teams crashes the college football playoff this year. One of those 2.
You
can't have it both ways. You can't say Oregon goes undefeated, they make it in, and then
he was just throwing out scenarios. He didn't say they would
go undefeated. I said if they run the table,
if they run the table, they're in. Yeah,
they still got to play USC, and they got to play. I think they play Arizona State. I'm not sure, but Utah is always a hard play in the Pac-12. Yep. So yeah, if Oregon runs the table, they're in. But I don't think they're going to run the table. I think they're going to. They'll lose. They'll drop one.
Yeah, we're going to figure out who these teams actually are because they're falling victim to the same thing that all the other football teams fell victim to week one. They're playing better teams than what they're used to from week one. Usually it's a cupcake game, right? But this one is you've got a game that actually means something towards your conference.
Well, I think there's two aspects with Oregon. A, that what you just said, and B, they're playing a 6-game schedule with no buys. They lose. They don't play one game. I don't think the college football playoffs is going to put a team that's only played 5 games into the playoff.
I agree.
Do not think they'll do that.
I agree.
So that's enough about college football. I mean, we could go longer. You want you guys to do our picks before we get into the NFL real quick?
Let's
rattle those bad boys off.
We'll these off. Sorry for this, guys. There's been lots of cancelizations, postponements, if you will. So picking games, they're a little rough. So bear with me on the ones we pick. Number one, we're going to do the Big 12 games first. Weirdest spread I've seen all year. Baylor versus Texas Tech. Texas Tech is a 1.5-point favorite.
F you, Vegas.
I will say, I probably don't know, Baylor did just lose their starting linebacker and starting running back for the year. Injuries, they're gone.
Bummer.
Yes.
Well, they got an extra year, so that's nice.
Yeah. So just letting you guys know that, so I don't have inside information that you guys don't know. So Jimmy, Baylor, Texas Tech, 1.5 point. I think it's
let's see. Baylor coming in missing. You said they were missing out their
running back, and I think it's a linebacker. But
running back and linebacker.
Definitely, their starting running back Williams is gone.
I know their offensive line has been trash this year. Oh my God, where is it?
It is at Tech.
Lubbock.
At Lubbock.
God bless America. I don't know. Give me Texas Tech. I'll take Texas Tech on this one.
I am taking Texas Tech as well. Fucking Red Raiders. Let's go. Bang, bang. Let's go. And moving on. Fuck Baylor. Let's go with that. We can all agree with that.
I know.
Baylor can.
Sorry for making that rated R. Mom, if you're listening, I apologize.
Mom, if you're probably like, I'm gonna go with Baylor.
I mean, honestly, this is a pick'em game. It could go either way.
They lost a running back, but the running back, I mean, he wasn't spectacular. They still got Corey Brewer, who is a good quarterback.
He cannot. He's getting no time to be able to do anything.
Wait, he's a power forward for the Florida Gators.
Yeah. That was him. Actually, years ago. Oh yeah, I like Baylor. I mean, Texas Tech they can't stop anybody to save their life. There's not a lot to talk about this game. Like, I'm going to take Baylor. I just think Baylor's defense is going to outlast Texas Tech's defense.
All right, that's a fair assessment.
All
Moving on.
right, moving on. Probably the weirdest on the actual points. Number 19 SMU playing unranked Tulsa at Tulsa, and Tulsa is a 2.5-point favorite.
Let's go.
God, give me SMU, and I think
I'm taking SMU. Just because that's the dumbest thing I ever heard.
Did
SMU did they have enough? Did they have a bus crash and they all died, or what happened?
I looked at it, and I was like, why is number 19 a 2.5-point underdog to Tulsa? No offense.
Tulsa's actually pretty good this year.
Vegas knows something we don't. There's something going on there.
Apparently, I might have missed SMU's whole offense got COVID or something. I don't know. But something's going on. But yeah. Another weird one. Super weird. This is the weird week. Number 9 Miami playing unranked Virginia Tech at Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech's a 3-point favorite.
What not? Wait, Ross, where are you getting these from?
ESPN.
I've never heard of it.
What is that? All right,
Jimmy, go ahead. You gonna take Miami or what? Because I'll take Miami.
What's the spread?
2.5 points. Sorry, yeah, it's 2.5 points.
I'm writing all these down as we go. I'm gonna take Miami in this one. I think Virginia Tech's. Oh wait. Does Virginia Tech have their quarterback?
Apparently, they're 2.5-point favorites against number 9.
Michael Vick is coming back. He's going to be the starting quarterback of Virginia Tech. They're going to, yeah. Beamer is making a celebratory coaching position. Yeah.
Yeah, they had a tough loss against Liberty last week. Liberty, which is the number 25 team in the country, they had it lined up.
They've lost
a field goal.
They've lost to fucking Liberty. Miami's only losses to Clemson.
I'm taking Miami, yeah, for sure.
Give me Miami.
I only wanted to bring up the situation how that Virginia Tech Liberty game ended.
Oh, yeah, that was a good.
Yeah, so Liberty's lined up. They're going for a field goal for the win because it's tied. They go to kick. Virginia Tech blocks it, scoops, scores, wins, right? But no. Virginia Tech tried to ice Liberty's kicker, so they called a timeout, and then Liberty goes, kicks a field goal, wins the game.
That's pretty crazy.
GG noobs.
All right, one.
Next game, Ross.
All right, next game. Last Big 12 game. Then we'll do the.
Wait. Did you pick Miami last game?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Okay.
I told Miami, and I bet Miami wins by 14.
Yeah. I gotcha.
I can see that. King's playing his butt off against not great teams.
Right. So last Big 12 games, TCU versus West Virginia. There's no craziness on this one. This is actually, I think, could be a good game. West Virginia is a -3, or West Virginia is a 3-point favorite. I mean, West Virginia is sneaky good.
Yeah, all of a sudden.
Yeah, they came out and know their coach. I mean, I'm not gonna say coach of the year because I mean they are like 4-2, and they're probably gonna end up 5-3 or whatever. But I mean, they took Texas to the wire.
Yeah.
Beat Iowa, or they beat Kansas, beat the shit out of Kansas State. Like they're pretty good. They've got, I think, Jimmy, I told you last week, before last week, I don't know what it is. They had at the time the 21st best offense and the 6th best defense.
Yeah, I remember you talking about that. Yeah, yeah. That's the thing is, West Virginia's at number 6, only giving up 271 yards a game.
Yeah,
and that's in the Big 12.
Right, which we do have. We're kind of known for offense. So give me West Virginia, TCU, WVU. I love Gary, but I think West Virginia is just. I like their overall the way they play football this year. I think they're pretty good, and they've got this. They play the weird fucking 3-3-5 defense. Super weird, and it's really hard to figure out.
I'm gonna make up some ground here. I'd love to go West Virginia, but I'm gonna go TCU on this one. I'm hoping for the upset there at Morgantown. Is it Morgantown?
Yeah, Morgantown.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll go with TCU here.
It's 3 points. It's pretty much a toss-up. Who the hell knows?
Yeah, I'm going to go West Virginia as well. Shout out to my sister-in-law who's from West Virginia.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, my step niece, niece went to West Virginia, so I should be a giant West Virginia fan. But
that's a great story, Ryan. Thanks, man.
7 generations removed. Yeah.
All right, so the last 2 games, actually, we're going with the Big Ten. The last 2 games, I do think they're actually both very interesting. If it plays, Michigan, Wisconsin. Wisconsin is a 4-point favorite. Who's going to be their quarterback? God knows. Michigan's trash. We'll start. Ryan, since you love or Jimmy, sorry, not Ryan. Jimmy, since you love Michigan, we're going to start with you.
Oh, yeah, I'm a huge fan. You guys were talking about how, like, people are, it's easy for people to hate on Jim Harbaugh. It's like, well, yeah, I really hate him. By the way, we were born in the same city, not at the same time, but close. Anyway.
Or township.
Who's your dad?
Toledo.
It's not a city.
Okay. Anyway. Yeah, Michigan is hot trash. And I think Wisconsin is actually still pretty good. It's going to be difficult whether they're going to come in and, like you said, who knows who's going to be playing.
Okay, wait. Do you want to do Michigan, Wisconsin, or COVID?
Well, I'm gonna go.
That's
yeah.
Do we have any
I'm gonna
news on
go-
this game? Like, did they say
So
they're going to
as
play?
of right now, it's still there.
Yeah, it hasn't been postponed yet, so I don't know.
Yeah, it has not been. Granted, it's only Tuesday, but I'm gonna go with Wisconsin on this one. I'll just take the points. Take the favorites on this one. I think Michigan's bad.
I think Michigan's bad. I'm going to go with Michigan on this one. They are bad. They're god awful. Most specifically, their corners are just
really bad.
Really bad. However, I don't know if it's going to be the fifth string quarterback throwing the ball to them.
Yeah,
it ain't going to be their first or second string.
Yeah.
So
my thought on this one is Wisconsin usually has a really good offensive line. Michigan's defensive backs are bad, and then they just lost their top edge rusher. I think he's out. So that's pretty much why I'm going Wisconsin.
I'm just going to go with Michigan, mainly for the fact of I think if it's a full-fledged Wisconsin versus a full-fledged Michigan. Wisconsin,
it's not even close.
Yeah, and they win by a landslide. I'm going to go with Michigan because I think Michigan's going to be playing Wisconsin's C team because I think a bunch of between then and now of the 24 players out for COVID, Wisconsin couldn't have got that many players back to be back to 100%.
Yeah.
So because of that, I'm going to go with Michigan.
I'm going to take Michigan as well. I think they get a bounce back game this week. They've lost some games. They've looked really bad. I still think there's something there. Their cornerbacks are they're getting picked on at this point. Like if it's not a bomb over the top, it's a 15-yard pass interference call every single time. Yeah. So I think which is not proving my point. I think Wisconsin still targets them even with a fifth string quarterback, but I'm hoping Michigan wins this one. Yeah.
I mean, for the love of God, if you can't beat Wisconsin's C team, then cancel the season.
Yeah.
Okay. So the last game, and it's funny because Ryan brought it up and he said, I don't know if I'd take him. Nebraska versus Penn State. Penn State is a 3.5-point favorite.
How in the F are they a favorite in this game?
They're in Lincoln too, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. They are a 3.5-point favorite.
Okay.
Ryan.
I have to pick Penn State. I'm a fucking Penn State fan. I can't. There's nothing I can do about it. There's not a bone in my body that can pick against them, no matter what the point spread is. But holy shit, I see Penn State losing this game, but I have to pick Penn State.
You can't go with your boys. Jimmy,
I'm going Nebraska.
No, Jimmy, you didn't put much thought into that statement there.
If I wasn't a Penn State fan, I would pick Nebraska, but I have to pick Penn State.
I know,
but But the other thing is, you have to think that they do better than they did last week.
I know. That's what I'm saying. And that's why, I want to pick Nebraska, and I think Nebraska's running game is good, and Penn State's just been all around bad. But at some point, at some point they got to turn around. At some point, they've got to turn into the Penn State that I thought they were going to be. At some point, they're going to a light's going to we're Penn State.
Oh, no, they'll never be that Penn State. They'll never be 8th ranked in the country preseason Penn State. They might be top 25 Penn State that can do okay, but they'll never be that team.
Give me the Nittany Lions. Give me Penn State. I do think Penn State's defense, they gave up Maryland. They crashed it, but they still have a fantastic front seven. And if they can hold that running quarterback down, then Nebraska's offense is going to stutter, and Clifford finds – oh, actually, no, correction. Clifford doesn't do shit. Dotson finds that ball that's flying 5 feet over his head.
Yeah.
Guys, you got to remember it's Nebraska running quarterbacks.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Penn State. I think Penn State pulls it off. I think their front seven on defense holds Nebraska down enough. And Devin Ford runs for 250 yards. Boom. I said it now.
Not happening. Let's jump into the NFL. We ready? We done with the picks?
We're done with the picks.
Yeah, that is it with picks.
Okay. Quick quick tag up on the NFL.
Cowboys are great.
We'll start with the Cowboys and Steelers. Cowboys played a hell of a game.
What,
I was
Cowboys
very surprised.
Might have played one of their best games since losing Dak Prescott.
Well, there's two things.
I would agree with that.
Either the Steelers aren't that good, or the Cowboys all of a sudden had the best game of their season.
I'm hard pressed not to say the Steelers aren't that good, just because the teams that they have already beat.
Okay, so I'll say maybe the Steelers aren't as good as we thought they were. I think they're a good team. Okay. I think they're a good team, but for them to get taken to the wire by this Cowboys team,
right?
We started a fifth-string quarterback who was a backup at Texas. By the way, I've never heard of him before in my life. What the hell's his name?
I can tell you, Garrett Gilbert. He went to Texas, got beat out, and then he went to SMU and played at SMU.
Okay.
By the way, well, before you,
I never said the Steelers were dominant.
Well, no, but who they've played, they haven't really played too much.
What, the Steelers?
Yeah.
Tennessee, Baltimore, Cleveland, who's okay.
They played so far. They've beat the Giants, the Broncos, the Texans, the Eagles, the Browns, the Cowboys, and then the Ravens and Titans. Ravens and Titans will give you that. 100% give you that. Browns are good, but they're not Ravens and Titans. No. The rest of the schedule is trash.
So my thing about the Steelers is I don't look at them as a particularly dominant team. They're not leading much in terms of offense. Like they just do enough.
They look like they have some
holes for sure.
Yeah, there are definitely some holes in the Steelers. I mean, I say that and I say that they're undefeated, right?
Yeah, they're 8-0. The rest of the schedule is the Bengals, the Jaguars, Ravens. Okay, that one's gonna be tough, obviously. Then the Redskins, the Bills, the Bengals, the Colts, the Browns. They could go 16-0.
There's a possibility.
Yeah,
they're a good team. They're a good team. It's more about the Cowboys had no reason to be in the same building as them, and the Cowboys played them very tough. And so I will say this about the Cowboys, and then I'll get off the Cowboys train. But their defense the past 2 weeks has been. It's looked good. Like they've gotten Sean Lee back, and I'm not saying Sean Lee is old Sean Lee, but they've gotten Leighton Vander Esch back. They've gotten Sean Lee back. They've gotten some other pieces on defense back. Their defense looks pretty damn good, and I think they're starting to get it together. Obviously that doesn't mean anything because they're not going to make playoffs. But
they still got a good front seven, right?
Well, they do now. Then now that they got
now they got Vander Esch and Lee back.
It's a very interesting thing that happened to the Cowboys this year is when they have three pretty good linebackers. When you lose 2 out of those 3, the whole defense breaks down. That's kind of how I see it. Like when Leighton Vander Esch, Jalen Smith, and Sean Lee are all playing well and they're healthy, I think that defense is a lot better. Like, it's kind of the oil that makes the whole thing go. Like I think if you're stable in that linebacking position, then the whole defense kind of plays off each other, But the Cowboys suck though. Like they're terrible.
Better, and you're not getting double teamed.
Yeah. Like Jalen Smith is able to kind of run around and do his thing. He had some bad calls this week, but when he's able to when he has Leighton Vander Esch to lean on, and when Leighton Vander Esch has Jalen Smith to lean on, I think they're pretty good together. But
you want to hear the craziest stat that I heard this week? That the Pittsburgh Steelers are 8-0, and the Philadelphia Eagles are 3-4-1. And the Philadelphia Eagles have a better percentage to win their division.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, I mean we're talking NFC East here.
Well, it is, but I was like when a 3-4
it's really bad
has a better chance than an 8-0 team. I'm like, God.
I will say this. I mean, this is coming from the guy that hates the Eagles more than anybody else in the world. I fucking hate the Eagles. Like,
Cowboys
fans.
Excuse my language. Like, I despise the Eagles, and I despise Eagles fans. I'm sorry if there's any Eagles fans out there. I hate you guys.
I was a Baltimore Ravens fan. Granted, I got in the NFL, but I always thought, like, obviously a little biased, like Baltimore and Pittsburgh was like the greatest rivalry, and they hate each other. Yeah. But now that I step back from the NFL, the Cowboys and Eagles is great. You guys suck.
I will say this. If I was the rest of the NFL, I'd be a little bit careful about the Eagles. Like, and this is coming back to my point. This is coming from a guy that hates the Eagles. The Eagles hit their stride, and if all of a sudden Carson Wentz gets it figured out, and they get healthy at the right time, because the Eagles have had bad injuries this year. Not so much as the Cowboys. Cowboys have been decimated, but if the Eagles get healthy at the right time and they sneak into the fucking playoffs, and they win the NFC East, there's a chance that they can make some waves because we've shown 3 years ago they did that.
They can. I mean, and I agree with that. I mean, Carson Wentz could do whatever, but I mean, just looking at it so far, they've lost to the Washington football team, Redskins.
Division game, yeah.
Lost to the Steelers and Ravens, beat the Giants by 1, and then beat a decimated Cowboys team. Which this is not even the Cowboys. I'm not this close to stop calling them the Cowboys this year because that's just not the Cowboys. That's not.
All I'm saying is the NFC East is a joke right now. But when that team gets to obviously the NFC East is going to have a team in the playoffs.
I would tell you this right.
Just write them off and say, hey, this is a shit team. Like I got a feeling like you got to be ready, even if it's going to be the Eagles, I think. But
I'll tell you this, Ryan. Your little thing about being scared about it, we will know more about that at the end of the month. At the end of the month, so they got the Giants and the Browns the next 2 weeks. After that, they go Seahawks, Packers, Saints, Cardinals. We'll figure it out very quickly.
Yeah.
If they're like, even if they lose all those games, they lose them by like a field goal or something like that. Okay, you can play with them. But I mean, if they run through that gauntlet and get blasted, I'm like, even if you get to the playoffs, it's over. Like,
so what else we got in the NFL this week? Tom Brady got smoked.
Yeah, they got smacked, man.
Yeah, they picked up Antonio Brown. How'd that work out for him?
Apparently, it wasn't. Well, from what I've read, it was Tampa Bay had possibly the worst game plan going into a football game that's ever been seen. Like for some reason, I just forgot how to play football, or I don't know what it was. It wasn't all on Tom Brady. It just seems like the play calling, the game plan going against Breeze didn't work.
I don't know anything about Tampa Bay's defense.
Yeah, they're really good. Like Tampa Bay's defense is really good, and Breeze kind of shredded them.
Wow.
I mean, one big thing about that is Jaboy Michael Thomas came back. So I mean, that makes. I said that at the beginning of the year. I think that New Orleans is a totally different team with and without Michael Thomas. Like when he's not there, they're okay. When he is there, they're a contender in the NFC. Yeah, he's really good. We got to see. So one thing we did talk about this weekend, Jimmy, you and I, Seattle Buffalo. That ended up being a pretty damn good game.
That'd be a big pretty damn good game. Yeah,
I think, dude, that's one of the weird things that people don't talk about. It's West Coast teams traveling as far as they can go to the East Coast to play an early morning game. I've heard people talk about that in the past, and the amount of games that we just lost Ross here, but
we'll keep it going. He said he couldn't hear us. I think he's restarting.
Okay. But I don't know what the win record is for teams on the coast, on the West Coast. Like you got your Seattle, your San Francisco, your LA teams, your San Diego. When those teams go play early games against Buffalo, who's on the East Coast, some type of team like that, it's a very low win percentage. So I think Seattle's a better team than Buffalo. I think Buffalo's okay, but I think Seattle's a way better team. But
I agree. Yeah, it looked like Josh Allen had one of his better games he's had in a couple weeks. He's been kind of down the past couple weeks.
Seattle's pass defense is one of the worst in the league. So
which is crazy.
It's hard, like in the NFC, like to see. You've talked about it. I think we talked about 2-3 weeks ago, Ryan. We were talking about who do you see, who do we see coming out of AFC and NFC, and you brought up Seattle.
Yeah.
And at the time, and I agree with you. I could see them getting the Super Bowl, but they're 100% beatable.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, if somebody beat them in the playoffs, I'm not gonna be like, oh my god, Seattle got knocked out. I'd probably go, all right, well, yeah, the Packers beat them or whoever.
Right.
See it. I can see that happening.
In the same breath that I think. Okay, so watching what's happened in Seattle against Buffalo this week, I wasn't surprised by Buffalo beating them. That's a tough game traveling across the country.
Buffalo's good.
Pittsburgh's also beatable too. Pittsburgh's beatable. Yes. I don't know if the Chiefs are beatable at this point.
That's the one.
They lost the game against the Chargers. I don't know if the Chiefs are beatable this year. Besides the game they lost against Chargers.
No, they lost to the Raiders.
Raiders. I'm
They
sorry.
lost. I think they've lost. Yeah.
Yeah, so they lost one against the Raiders, right?
Yeah,
that's the only game they've lost. I think they've since that have looked damn near unbeatable. Like Chiefs are going to be really good. I mean, who else looks vulnerable?
Well, and I think it's also not saying Breeze or Rodgers or whoever the hell else aren't good quarterbacks, but I mean, if you give me one game and I get to pick one quarterback for one game,
you're picking Kyler Murray, right?
I'm going
you're obviously picking Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray's kid.
Baker Mayfield. Yeah, I mean, pick Patrick Mahomes. Like, who would take Patrick Mahomes for one game? So,
yeah. By the way, they barely beat Carolina this week. I didn't notice that. They
had a hard game. They had a pretty tough
game back and
has what's his nuts played at all? Bell, what's his stats?
Yeah, he's played. Yeah,
I know he's played, but how many is he getting carries? Jim?
No, I still think the Rook's getting the majority of the carries there.
Yeah, you're talking about Le'Veon Bell in Kansas City. Yeah, I think it's still they're rolling with Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Yeah. So you see on the Come On Man, they spelled Clyde Edwards-Helaire's name wrong on the back of his jersey this week. So.
Oh, come on, man. I don't know what's going on because they only ran the ball 12 times.
Well, sometimes they ran the ball 12 times, and the other times, like, Helaire has 250 yards. It's like,
yeah.
I mean, who the hell knows?
He had 5 carries for 14. Bell got 4 carries for 8 yards.
Yeah.
All right, so what else we get this week? We got Houston, Jacksonville, who cares? New York against Washington, who cares? Minnesota looked good this week.
They're not. They're not.
Dalvin Cook is making his case for best running back in the league. He is doing his damn thing there, man. Yep. Arizona lost again, so the fighting Tagovailoa.
Fighting Tagovailoa.
Yeah. So Arizona is an anomaly. Like, well, I got to give a little spotlight on Arizona. It's like, I mean, obviously, them beating the Cowboys on Monday night didn't mean shit because the Cowboys are absolutely terrible.
Everybody's beating the Cowboys.
Everybody's beating the Cowboys. So, like, I'm not sold on Arizona and Miami going all the way to the West Coast and beating the piss out of. I mean, they didn't beat the piss out, but they beat Arizona. Like, that's kind of telling.
I think Arizona's on the right track. I think eventually they're not going to be able to pay D-Hop.
They're not going to go from they're 2-16 or whatever the hell they are, or to playoff. I don't think. But I mean, looking at their schedule,
I mean, they're 5-3. They're not terrible.
They're not bad. By the way, so Ryan, because of the Cowboys,
so they lost to the Lions, the Panthers, and the Dolphins. That's 3 bad, not very good teams. I'll just say that.
We'll see what happens with the Dolphins. I think the Dolphins are going to win 9-10 games.
Well, that was the thing is the Dolphins when they decided to make that change at quarterback, they were actually playing kind of good.
Well, so they had
they weren't winning, but
I've made my decision. Your football team in the NFL for this week, since everybody's hurt and you guys are shit and not the team we thought, you're now the Dallas football team for the rest of the year. You're not going to be referred to as the Cowboys because this is not Cowboy football. Cowboys are better than this. You're not Cowboy football because
I agree with that.
Listen, they're better games if Dak Prescott's in that game.
No, 100%. No, if
Dak Prescott is still leading the league in passing.
Right.
I'm joking. It's not true.
I mean, I brought that up. I looked it up. Like Dak Prescott, after being hurt for 2 weeks, was still leading the league in passing yards.
Yeah.
So
he's
But so it was interesting, and they brought it up, and I didn't think about it until somebody I read it that with putting in Tua because Fitzmagic was playing, and not that Fitzmagic was playing terrible, but whatever. And they put Tua in, and I think Miami's got 3 first-round picks this coming year, with a possible of Lawrence, Fields, Mac Jones, Trey Lance, and then old boy from BYU. What's his name?
Zach Wilson.
Zach Wilson. With those 5 quarterbacks that I've seen on ESPN, all projected first round, Miami needs to figure out if this is their dude or not because they've got 3 first-round picks.
I think they like Tua.
Just picked him. I like Tua.
I think
they like him. Yeah,
but you can't just. They had to put him in a game to let him see him play because you can't just not play him for 2 years and be like, no, this is our guy. You haven't seen him play.
Good point.
You got to put him in and let him see what he can do. And obviously, I think Tua has proven that he is going to be the guy going forward in Miami. So, but like when they brought that up, it's like, yeah, that's why they put him in. Like, you got to decide this week, like right now, let him play and see if he's going to be your quarterback. If not, you got a plethora of quarterbacks that you could take coming up, which is interesting.
I like Tua though. I don't know. That's weird.
So going into this week, looking at the schedule, not too many big games that jump out at me. Looks like Seattle, Los Angeles, or Seahawks, Rams might be a pretty good game. I mean, that's a divisional game. That's actually going to be a meaningful one. All the rest of the games look kind of like Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, San Francisco, New Orleans, Baltimore, New England. I mean, that should be a stomp on Sunday night, but not much else going on.
But on the plus side, we have 1 week, then we have Thanksgiving football, which is always fun.
Hell yeah, fun. Cowboys on Thanksgiving. Let's go.
Yeah. Always. Thanksgiving.
Even if we're 0-1,000, I don't give a shit. Cowboys Thanksgiving, I get pumped up for.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like.
It's a tradition.
I'm not a Cowboys fan, but on Thanksgiving, I watch the Cowboys.
They gotta wear those old school little Giants jerseys.
Put your
stuff. So moving on to NBA. No one gives a shit about jerseys. Let's move on to NBA. Ross, what do you got for us?
So NBA, it could be a freaking clusterfuck, wild whirlwind. Jimmy,
you brought it up. Like,
you're not an NBA fan, but you have admitted that NBA free agency might be one of the wildest things that happens.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. And the NBA agreed today with the Players Association, or this week, that they're going to start December 22nd. So in
a month and a half,
in a month and a week and a half. And they still haven't done the NBA draft.
Nope.
Then so they're going to have the NBA draft next week. Then they're going to have 3 weeks.
That's crazy.
And then they're going to start like preseason. And then it's going to be the craziest shit ever.
They're not doing bubble again, right? They're doing it normal, just with like how baseball did it.
They did say a bunch of the guys, and I don't blame them, like LeBron James and some of these guys, like Chris Paul, the veterans. They said that they're probably going to sit out until January. It's like, man, they showed it compared to NHL, all other strike years, everything. This is by far the shortest off season of any sport ever.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, LeBron, especially the guys who played in the finals. LeBron, take some time to recover.
They're not going to play until January, so that's going to be interesting. NCAA basketball is tipping off here soon, so that's going to be some fun. I'm ready for the NBA because NBA free agency is awesome. It's so much fun. We go draft, free agency, season starts. So that's going to be fun. Kind of moving on from basketball, something we've never talked about really on this sport or on this thing of sport. It is Masters Weeks, boys.
Oh, yeah.
Hell yeah.
Talk about DeChambeau. Tell him about his long shaft.
We will talk about it is the best week in golf, minus the Ryder Cup, in my opinion.
I love the Ryder Cup.
It is a tradition like
any other.
No other.
I will say,
dulcet tones.
The one bummer though is, they looked at the weather and it's like Friday 60% chance of rain. Saturday 50% chance of rain. Sunday
killing me, George. That's Augusta, right?
Yeah, it's
Hey, blame it on Florida. They got tropical depressions working out there. I think it's probably coming off. I think it's. It's not a hurricane. I think it's tropical whatever ETA. ETA or whatever.
Yeah. I got one of the guys that works for me. He's in Florida right now, and he doesn't have power dealing with it.
I got boys down there too.
Brian's. Last week, DeChambeau's going to roll with a large, long shaft.
So I mentioned to these guys earlier today. I was like, DeChambeau might go with a 48-inch shaft, which is. For you guys out there that don't golf, I mean, I've golfed my whole life and golfed in high school and all that stuff.
I beat him.
On the average, the shaft length on the PGA Tour is under 44 inches. And he's going 4 inches above that because he doesn't give a shit. And so if you don't know that, Bryson DeChambeau is one of the more crazy characters that golf's ever had.
It's analytical, right? His thing is analytics.
He is Billy Bean, but he plays golf instead of coaches baseball. Like I don't know if that makes any sense. Right?
The way you described it to me, it reminded me of like Trevor Bauer. I don't know if you guys pay attention to Trevor Bauer and his preparation. He's very analytical, talking about spin rates and grip and arm angles and position of different fingers being off like half an inch on the ball to get a little bit more grip.
A normal, like, not to get, I don't want to dive into this too much, but a normal set of golf clubs is a gradual length of golf clubs. So your pitchy wedge is shorter than your 9-iron, your 9-iron shorter than your 8-iron, your 8-iron shorter than your 7-iron, and so on. Bryson DeChambeau uses the exact same club length, exact same weight, exact same, like, everything is the exact same except for the loft of the face of the club. It is a very different way to play golf. He has the exact same swing with any club he uses. It's almost like he transcends the game a little bit. Like he's starting to get people to think about it, and he was the first guy to make the move. So he is always on the cutting edge of what can I do technically to be better than anybody else.
So not only does he do that, but let's get real. On a driving, like off the tee, this dude bombs the fucking ball.
Yeah, whatever you think, however hard Tiger Woods hit the ball or John Daly hits the ball, Bryson DeChambeau hits the ball harder than anybody that's ever picked up a golf club, pretty much.
That this season so far on 400 plus drives.
It used to be if you hit over 300 yards, you were a god. You know, like
on 400 plus yards, which is just
far
idiotic. The third place guy, I forgot the names, but the third place guy or second place guy had like 4 or 5 on the season. The third place guy had like 2 or 3. DeChambeau's got 17. Like you can take 2 through 6 and add them up, and it's not like so. Not only is he doing what Ryan's talking about, like with the same everything, he could straight up smash the ball, and now he's going to extend his driver, which is going to give him more leverage,
way more leverage,
and like this ball is going to get massacred.
If you watch those guys who do watch those guys who do the long drive, they all have really long driver shafts.
How long are their drives, by the way?
I don't know how long those are, but they bomb them like 400.
The fairway that they're aiming down is wider than it is long. Like that's the thing about DeChambeau. Like DeChambeau is hitting these bomb drives, but he's still keeping it in a fairway. Like that's a very tough thing. When you bomb something 400 yards, to keep it within a fairway is impossible. Like he does it consistently. His average length on drive is 344. The next guy closest is 331.
So so I just looked it up. So the long drive champion, or like they have that tour or whatever it is, whatever you want to call it. The maximum, the top you can have on the long drive is 50 inches, and DeChambeau's only to go
2 inches shorter.
Which is the max on the tour. Like he is the reason he's only going 48 is because that's the max.
Yeah, but like what I'm saying is like, the people that do the long drive, they'd have these long 58, 50. Nobody on PGA thinks about that.
He's probably looking at those guys like, oh shit, you guys hit it 450? Dang, what? Like he's probably trying to get whatever driver they got because he knows he can do it. You know,
par 5. He wants to drive a par 5.
And so it's really different. He's a different type of guy. Like depending on what course he goes and plays, he like builds workout sessions built to that course. Like, I need to hit it longer. I need to hit it longer this week, so I need to like do more bench press, or I need to do more squats, or whatever he needs to do. Like he adjusts his game and bulks up for certain courses, loses weight for other courses. Like he is an absolute weirdo.
That's an athlete's mindset.
Yeah,
and that's something that Tiger Woods brought in, is the mindset of working. Like you said before, we were talking offline. It's like Tiger Woods innovated the game because he came in including weightlifting to get more off the tee, right? And then
DeChambeau's taking it to a whole new level. Tiger Woods took it to a reasonable level. Tiger Woods is like, hey, I'm going to be athletic and play golf at the same time and be really good at this. DeChambeau's like, I'm just a straight weirdo and I'm going to do whatever the hell I need to do. I don't know what DeChambeau's doing. It's great for the game, I think. I think it's going to push the game to the next level, but he is a goofball. Like he read a book from the 1960s or 1970s that explained to him these like use the same length shaft and all this stuff that no one ever adopted. And he was just like, hey, I think it's a good idea. And he went to his coach and he's like, hey, make these clubs. And the guy made the clubs and he started using them. And all of a sudden he took the tour by storm. So
yeah,
like people like if you don't watch golf, I'm not saying DeChambeau's can win because he does do everything we're saying. But what he also does is he doesn't give a fuck. And he's like, oh, I've got to go 260 over 3 freaking trees, 5 pits in water. I'm doing it. And then he ends up shanking into the woods. And
he's tin cup.
He's that high school coach that didn't punt. Like, remember there was like that high school coach that never punted?
That,
He's like, I ran the analytics, I've ran the math in my head, and I'm never going to punt. I'm going to go for it every time. 4th and 15, going for it.
I'm going for it, period.
Yeah.
I'm going for it. Which is fun golf. It is fun to watch.
It is fun to watch. Yeah, I'll have to check. I'll have to watch that, actually. I don't really watch golf.
Sergio backed out because of COVID. I did see that. I'm not saying he's going to win, but, I mean, not having Sergio there, just, whatever.
Yep.
But, I mean, it is Masters weekend. Hopefully the weather holds up. Always a fun week of golf at Augusta. And
so they had their like par 3 challenge today or whatever. John Rahm hit a hole-in-one, skipped it across the water, like bounced like 6 times and got a hole-in-one.
Nice. I have to look that up.
So we're really excited about that. Like, so minus the NFL, we got a fun week of sports with the college football. You know, I think that this could be a week that we're going to come back next week and be like, holy shit. Like,
is Notre Dame off this week? They must be off this week. Then, right?
Yeah, I think they're off. So is Clemson, I think.
So we'll see what happens there. But, then obviously the Masters, like, I think the OU gods are shining upon me because OU does not play on Masters weekend. So I get to watch the Masters all weekend. And there's NBA stuff going on. College basketball is about to start, and it's going to be interesting to see how it goes. Hopefully, we have an NCAA tournament because, still in my mind, regardless of any sport, that is the greatest the greatest sports event ever is March Madness.
It's hard to argue.
A lot of fun.
Yeah, it's
a lot of fun. We gotta if the tournament happens, which I'm pretty sure it will. It'll be in a bubble.
We will have a bracket.
We got brackets. Yeah, we have to do brackets.
Because I mean. It doesn't feel like that long ago, but we lost last season, right? Like we didn't have.
We lost last year. Yeah, we lost the tournament last year or this year.
This year.
Last year. Yeah.
Well, it is
this year. Yeah.
It is this year. Because they canceled the basketball season in January. And
March. Yeah, it was like a couple weeks into the season, right?
No,
they had played some games.
We were approaching the end of it. Like we knew pretty much who was going to be in the tournament, who wasn't, or whatnot. And then they cut it off in January, probably about 20, 25 games into the season, of a 40-game season.
Yeah.
So that's a bummer. But, we'll have a boom, buck, blue, and bust.
Well, that's likely where it's going to happen because I'm terrible at picking brackets.
Boom, buck, blue, and bust college basketball.
Bust nuts or what?
Bust these nuts.
Anyhow, we did a pretty good timing on this one. Hey, actually, this is pretty good.
Let's not talk about that on the podcast. Let's go ahead. Hey, you know what?
Yeah. So
this is a good one, guys. I enjoyed this one. Kept it nice and short and sweet.
Yeah, like Jimmy usually says, if you got your picks, throw them on the comments. Throw out there, see if you can beat me because these two jackasses are idiots.
Hey, I'm catching up.
No, you're not. I'm still way ahead of you.
I'm catching up, brother. You keep better check your rearview mirror, brother.
Please give us your picks. Like if you win, we'll give you. If you beat all three of us, we'll give you a shout out. And then hopefully the Cowboys can win a game. Maybe.
Hey, I forgot what it feels like to have a win, man. I'm still looking for that to get a win, and
you're gonna get it against Nebraska. I called it. You're gonna get it.
I think so too. I mean,
we'll see. That's
give us a follow on head to Instagram. Give us a follow at BoomBuckBlue Podcast. Hit us up on our YouTube. Give us a like, share, and subscribe. Please share this with all your friends and family.
Guys, I want to apologize for the last 60 seconds. We don't know what to do when it goes this short, and me and Ryan did.
I don't know what to do with my hands. So
this is great. This seems more.
Let's end it here.
More better.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in. We will see you all on the next one.
Pick a good entrance music and call it out, people.
Yeah.
What?
Pick a good entrance song.
You want a
Jeopardy theme song because Pat Sajak died. All right, everybody. See you guys later.
Not Pat Sajak.
Whatever his name is. Alex.
Oh yeah,
Trebek.
yeah. Rest in peace,
Pat Trebek. There you go.
All right.
Bye.
Are we out? Bye.
What is?